Give it a second to warm up here. All right, looks like we are live. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome. Come on in, tap the screen, share the live, pull up a seat. If this is your first time joining, my name is Tina. I am a happiness coach, and I help people go from being in a dark place to being in a happier place. And I do this by sharing my experience, my strength, my hope, things that actually work for me, and how I've been able to move myself from being in those dark spaces. I practice these on a daily basis. I use these tools myself. These are things that I like to share because they actually work for me. So I want to be able to share these things with you, and I want to be able to bring awareness to everyone so that they can heal any past trauma that they've gone through. Welcome. Thank you for tapping the screen. Love the energy. That's awesome. And I share this, and my goal is to help 1 million people heal past trauma, and doing this not only in a personal way, but also in a professional way, because we carry ourselves into work, and if we haven't healed our stuff, we take that into work, and there's other people that are at work that they haven't healed their trauma as well. So that causes all kinds of reactions. So today we're going to dive into what I call is 5 ways that abusers weaponize love. And some of this is going to be very similar. Well, it's basically from the 5 love languages. And I'm going to actually share some stories of how the abusers I've dealt with actually weaponize that love, because I realize this because when I was thinking about it today, is there's different ways and different techniques that they used that I wasn't aware of at the time, but now that I've done more healing work, I can see this, and being aware of it allows me to kind of see, where is this playing out in my current day-to-day life, and how is this affecting me? And when I can actually see that happening in real time, then I can change how I react to things. And we'll get into reactions and timing of that as well. So, first word, if you aren't familiar with the 5 love languages, the first one is words of affirmation. This is an easy one. It's actually the lowest energy level too, that it doesn't take very much to say a few pretty words, a couple of flattering things, and people are more inclined to comply to your wishes, right? So when you have an abuser and a child, it's very easy to manipulate a child because they look up to you, they respect you, you're their source of security. So it doesn't take much to abuse a child in that way by using pretty words, right? So words of affirmation, and an easy way to get a child to comply is to not give them that affirmation. Okay. Second one is technically acts of service, but I'm going to go to receiving gifts because that tends to be the next in energy level. Receiving gifts, it's easy to bribe a kid with a toy, a treat, getting to watch a movie. My abusers did this to me all the time. One of the favorite things one of my abusers liked to do is, for dinner, he would serve something that he deliberately knew I fucking hated. And he would watch, and I would, because I was a stubborn kid too, and I knew what he was doing, I knew the games he was playing, and that's what made me even angrier, but I had no power in the situation. Why? Because I was in grade 3. So you tend to not have a whole lot of power when you're 3 years old, other than passive resistance. And so I applied that liberally, and so I would refuse to eat dinner. Of course, I'd be hungry later, and then in order for him to get some of the things that he wanted, he would tempt me with my favorite treats. And I was thinking about this morning and the other day, of how that has affected me in so many ways. And it got me thinking about, why is it that I do this late night snacking kind of thing? And I was like, interesting correlation there. And I'm like, I would be forced to eat something I didn't really like for dinner, And then when it came time for, bed or whatever, he would bribe me with whatever treat. Sometimes that would be like, I love steak, right? So if he tried to feed me mackerel or something, or like something I really hated, or liver or something like that for dinner, I'd be like, I'm not eating that. And I'd be like hungry. And then afterwards, he would say, oh, do you want a steak sandwich? And then of course, as soon as I took the bait, then I had to comply, right? So those are some of the things of receiving gifts, which also has an ongoing effect that I am still working through, of being able to receive from other people. I love giving gifts. I hate receiving them, which is not a good equal give and take. Because I feel amazing when I give somebody a gift and they are able to appreciate it and accept it, and they're thankful for it. Yet I don't allow other people to do that for me, and it's really hard for me to do that. So I am getting better, though. I am getting much better at being able to receive. Still pretty stubborn with it, though. So that was one of the things, and it also that being said, there are times when I see somebody has put, because I'm not very, I like nice things, don't get me wrong, I like nice things, but I like thoughtful things even more. So for instance, back when I went back to high school, I completed my GED, and I went and I got high enough grades that I qualified to go into university. And I was going to go to university to become a psychologist. And so I took Psych 101, and knowing that I was going to be going to university, I was going to be carrying these heavy textbooks and everything. My friend at the time, she got me this denim backpack for Christmas, and I was like, that to me, oh, thank you so much for the gifts, I really appreciate you, ice cream and cloud bread, thank you so much, very nice. So this gift of a backpack, it was just a simple $20 backpack, but I thought it was amazing, and that was to me one of the high-end thoughtful gifts, because she knew that I needed it, and she knew I appreciate practical gifts, stuff that I can get a lot of use out of. So receiving gifts is one of the ways that the abuser would use it to leverage. Now, this was much more effective when he was abusing my brother versus me, because I caught on to that stuff really quick. So you have words of affirmation is lowest energy level, very easy to say a few pretty words. Very easy to give a couple of gifts. Not a big deal, right? The next one in energy level, I would say, is acts of service. So doing something. So it's like, oh, I cleaned this out for you, or I fixed your bike for you, or there were all kinds of little things that it's like, well, I did this for you, therefore you must do this for me. And so therefore it was a weaponized form of love, and it's like, love is for free and for fun, expecting nothing in return. When you give that with the expectation of what it is that you're going to get back, or the expectation that they're going to behave in a certain way, then you're not really giving that out of love. You're giving that out of expectation. You're giving that, and that's fine if that's communicated ahead of time. That's fine. That's a transaction. That is a business transaction, and we do that kind of stuff all the time. However, it's the ones that are unspoken that become dangerous. So if there is an unspoken expectation that is a premeditated resentment, there will be fallout from that, right? Because either the person will live up to your expectation, and they think that you did it out of love, and then they find out, it's like, well, if I hadn't have done the thing, what would have happened? Or they don't live up to the expectation, now you're pissed off, now you're resentful, because it's like, well, I did these things. And then you get into this whole scorekeeping thing, and that's never a good thing for a healthy relationship of any kind. business, friendship, family, partner, whatever, right? So acts of service is the next level, right? Now, acts of service is another one of my favorite ways to perform, is that when I go to like a function or something, and I do this partly selfishly because it's hard for me to socialize in big like where there's a lot of people, so I struggle with this. So I try to find something to do so that I make myself useful. So if there's like a family event or something like that, you will often find me in the kitchen or fussing around, tidying, helping the hostess out, doing something to be of service. And that's one of the ways that I express love. Not just selfishly, but it's also because I know what kind of work goes into putting on an event, and you're very tired, and as the host, you often don't get a time. I'm not going to say your name because it's not really appropriate, but Vigas, nice try though. Thank you. I do appreciate the gifts though. So acts of service is the next level. Then the fourth one is quality time. Now this one is my favorite because it's the time that you spend with people that you love that matter the most. And it is, I remember somebody saying that you spend time with that with what you love. And so making time for somebody, it's the only resource we can't get back. So when you put time, you put effort into doing something for someone or being there for somebody, that is so valuable, and that is, for me, it's one of the highest expressions of love, right? Quality time is spending time together and creating good memories, not just like hanging out, like, although sometimes that can be good, of you're just kind of existing in the same space. I kind of like that sometimes too, not gonna lie, but having it intentional, right? Creating memories together, creating experiences together, that is something that is really important and really valuable. However, abusers often will weaponize this, right? They'll leverage it as a promise that you're going to spend time together, and you finally, especially if you're isolated, right? So my abuser liked to isolate me, divide my mom and my brother against me, and then he would leverage it because now I've been isolated, my mom and my brother are mad at me, and that's when he would come in to be the hero to offer me quality time so that I would get the attention that I was craving. And children need that. Adults need it too, but children even more so. Oh, Reed, we look kind of similar. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yes, we do. Same glasses, everything. Cool. Nice to meet you. Welcome. So quality time is a big one that would get weaponized by first isolating, and then when there's that anxiety because now you need that attention, you're willing to take it from anybody, and you're willing to get whatever it is you need met, however you need it met. Even if you know it's not right, even if you know it's dysfunctional, even if you know it's bad. If you're starving enough, you will eat out of a garbage can, right? Normally you won't, but under the right circumstances, you will to survive. You'll do whatever it is you need to do in order to survive. So this is another favorite tool that abusers will use to weaponize quality time, because that is one of the love languages that we need. The last one is physical touch. Studies have shown that if a child or a chimpanzee or whatever is given all of the things that they need in life, they have food, they have water, they have shelter, they have access to outdoors, but they have no physical touch from another creature that's the same as them or another human being, no physical bonding, they will actually die. So this is how important physical touch is. So when you have the abuser who will isolate you and withdraw from you and get everybody ganging up against you as a child, and using that as a tool to manipulate you. Eventually, you end up caving in as a kid, right? Oh, thank you. So being able to get that physical touch is another way that was worn down. Another way that can be used is being in your physical space. Yes, Olivia, we do look the same. You were Reed before, and now you're Olivia. So, are you using my picture? Oh, come on, guys, really? Yes, you are, freaking guys. Oh, okay, we're gonna play this game, right? Fun times. Awesome. Okay, so I'll deal with you later. Physical touch is another big one. Report you. This is taking time from the live. Yeah. Nice. Fuckers used my picture. Good times, good times. All right. So, excuse me. 5 love languages. Words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. In part of the healing journey, these are all things, and I know, and by the way, just to give credit to the creator of who did the 5 love languages, it's Dr. Gary Chapman. Recommend the book. Check out, do a Google search for 5 love languages. There's even a quiz to tell you what your dominant love language is. That being said, I know I've taken some of mine, but I think personally we all need all of these. It's literally me, but nice. Thanks, Reed. So the 5 love languages. We all need words of affirmation. We all need acts of service, people that have done things for us that make us feel worthy. Receiving gifts is always nice, and quality time and physical touch. Now the thing is it's always nice to receive these from other people, but the true value comes from, in our healing journey, is finding ways for us to do this for ourselves. So focusing on words of affirmation are really, really important. I don't know about you, but I've spent, one of my reactions from childhood abuse is always being so critical of myself. And I still do it today, and I got a little bit of a wake-up call. Somebody, lovingly put a mirror up in front of me and realized I was being mean to myself. And so when I see somebody else being mean to me, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And now I'm like, oh, right, okay, I get it. Thank you. I love you. That's awesome. So when we start doing this for ourselves and we have words of affirmation, how nice are we being to ourselves? How much encouragement? Are we being our own cheerleader? Are we being our own best friend? What acts of kindness are we doing for ourselves today? Acts of service. What have we done? Have we cooked ourselves a nice meal, a healthy meal? Have we, I don't know about you, but I love coming home to a clean place. Have you cleaned up for yourself? Have you worked out? I know I worked out just before this. I had a bit of a slow day. I went to go to church this morning. I realized I was running a bit late, so I missed the one service, but there was a good thing that came from it, is I went to a different church to try out the service there, and I actually found a place that I really enjoyed. I was like, oh, this is actually really good. I'm really glad that I came to this later service. So, but because of that, I woke up, I got ready and got dressed. I was like, normally I do my workout and then I shower and then get dressed, but I didn't do that today. So then I was like, oh, well, I'll do my workout after my live, because sometimes I'll do that. I always make sure I get it done before bed, right? And so I do these things for acts of service for myself, of making sure that I'm taking care of myself. I'm not perfect, but I am getting better every day from what I was before. There's still a lot of room for improvement, but that doesn't mean I'm not making progress. Okay? Receiving gifts. So as you're going through these, you want to look at what are the things that you would like somebody else to do for you. And then start asking yourself, how can you start to do some of those things for yourself, right? And when you start incorporating that in, you start getting that validation from somebody else, and then it's a nice to have if somebody else does it for you. It's not a need anymore. You don't need anybody else. Although we do need people, but you don't technically need. It's a nice to have, and it becomes a collaboration, and it makes it much easier for you to be able to set a boundary to say, you know what, this isn't fucking cool for me. I don't like this behavior, or no, I'm not eating out of a garbage can because I have a fridge full of food, right? So it gives you a lot more choice, a lot more ability to choose what's best for you. And because you're already acting in a way that you're giving yourself the best kind of value out of each one of the 5 love languages, then you are actually being kind to yourself. And that is the most important thing, because I don't know about you guys, but you can go on the internet and it's like one day you'll hear everybody saying, you're working too much, and then the next day they're all like, you're working not enough. And it's like, or it'll be in the same day, like, you know, scroll one post and it's like, what do I do? So if you're always looking external to get your answers, and not trusting internally what's going on within you, then you're just going to be reacting to everything all the time. And that'll leave you in a state of anxiety, depression, and if it goes on long enough, suicidal thoughts. Ask me how I know. So, quality time. So, do you spend time with yourself? Do you spend time doing the things that you actually like to do? So, yesterday, I volunteered for art gallery, and I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting there. They weren't sure how many people were going to be coming because there was another event in the area, so that usually takes away the number of people. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll bring my sketchbook, and I sat there and I played some music, and I did a sketch yesterday, and I was like, oh, I haven't sketched for a bit because I've been focused on painting, but I was actually pleased with what I did, so I was really happy with that. So spending quality time with yourself, doing things that you actually like to do. And so for me, another one is painting, and that helps me stay present. It is something that is just for me. And even though I do it to sell off the art because I can't keep all of it, I have like stacks of stuff. I need to have an art gallery thing myself, which I'll be getting to. But I need to display some of that and get it out there for people. And you can check out my stuff on Redbubble. If you check out my YouTube channel, Coach Tina B, all of the thumbnails have prints of the artwork. And if you're on TikTok or Facebook, you'll see the posts that I have posted of the artwork that I've created. And then there's usually a link to Redbubble where you can buy prints. Either t-shirts, phone cases, shower curtains, bath mats, whatever. There's all kinds of journals, all kinds of things. Journals are great, by the way. So yeah, quality time, spending quality time, and you could use that as to buy yourself a gift. There you go. There's my, what do they call that? Shameless plug. There we go, a shameless plug for my product. There we go. That is the side stuff that I do. The artwork, I love doing that. It's just something that I really enjoy. It's passionate. Coaching is another thing that I'm doing. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So physical touch. That one was a little bit more challenging. I'm like, I don't know. So physical touch. A couple of ways that I did this is when I first started in my healing journey, and what I currently do is Hand lotion. So I went to the Body Shop and I got like my favorite scent, and I got a really good quality body lotion, and then I would take my time applying the body lotion. I would have bubble baths. I would do things where I would take better care of my nails, my hair, like, so physical touch and being intentional and tying that in with words of affirmation, actually. So when I put lotion on my legs, I'd be like, my legs are really strong. Like, I have a lot of weight that they carry. So giving my legs credit for the load that they've had to bear all these years. It's a lot less than it has been. But, you know, at the time, I had to start somewhere. So it doesn't matter if you're 400 pounds like I was, or you're 110 pounds. It doesn't matter. Give yourself credit. Give your body credit for carrying you through the day. Okay? So keeping in mind, the 5 love languages, they can be used and weaponized in order to control us. And the easiest way to control people is to withdraw love. So if you understand those 5 different areas that we all receive love in, and then you can be on alert or be aware, not on alert, be aware if somebody is trying to manipulate you through one of those 5 love languages. Okay? That's one of the easiest ways to control, is withdrawing the love. And that's why neglect is also a very damaging abuse, because it's not readily apparent like sexual abuse or physical violence, because those leave scars usually. But neglect, especially if your basic needs were met, but not your emotional needs, not the, you maybe didn't get much physical cuddling, healthy touch. So I know I didn't. Those things, they end up impacting you. And being able to, the way that you take that power back and the way that you heal is by giving yourself the stuff that you didn't get in that childhood, and being able to implement it where you need it today. I'm not saying you have to go out and do everything, but if you're finding it's like, man, I feel really lonely and I'm doing all these things I don't want to be doing, and it's like, okay, well then are there other ways that you can get that need for physical touch met? So that could be going for a massage, bubble baths, hand cream, whatever it is, self-pleasuring, whatever it is that you do, to each his own. You've got to be able to take care of whatever it is that you need. Okay? So I want to go into, I think these topics that I wrote down are a little bit more towards, yeah, those are a bit more business. I'm going to switch over to these ones. So now, if you catch somebody that is trying to manipulate you with one of these 5 love languages, I want you to look at your reactions. How are you reacting? And I want you to put in some space to your reaction and give yourself time to think through what's going on. And even if it's a good thing, because it's like, more times than not, the abusers didn't use punishing manipulation. They used rewarding manipulation, because sometimes that's easier, right? It's easier. It's like, hey, if you guys do this, then I'll give you ice cream afterwards, or I'll let you stay up late and watch this thing that you're not supposed to watch. That was a favorite one. So those kind of things end up being, you'll react happy, right? You know, oh, jump at it. Like, you know, you're all excited, but you haven't thought through what's going to happen afterwards. What are the consequences if I jump in too quickly with this? And this kind of ties into some business stuff, which I'll touch on in a minute here. So reacting when we're happy, it's no different, like, you know, if you've gone to, I got a perfect example. So, so we were in a desperate situation back in 2003. We were short on money. This was supposed to be my honeymoon. Don't ask me why my mom was there. That's a whole other story. My mom and my cousin. So we were at Disney, and we didn't really have enough money. And I had expressed this before we went down. And then I got blacklisted for being a worrywart. I was worrying too much. I'm like, no, man, we don't have the fucking money. And it's like, we want to go do something. Oh, we didn't have the money. Okay, well, here's another solution. I saw that if we go sit for this timeshare presentation, we can get tickets into the place that we wanted to go. Those were the most expensive fucking Disney tickets I've ever paid for. We ended up spending like 15 grand on a timeshare that we never used, not including the maintenance fee that we paid every year for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that. It was crazy, stupid. And I finally ended up getting out just by like, here, just take the damn thing back. We don't want any money for it. We're not trying to get anything for it. Finally made it out of there. But how I want to talk about that is that was a happy thing, because it was like, oh, like, you know, newly married, we're going to have kids, we're going to do all these great things, and this will be a safe place instead of the fucking Motel 5 that we were staying in that was all skeevy, because we couldn't really afford much. And I was like, this is a nice place. It was a nice resort, and they walked us around. There's all these pools, they had entertainment and all these cool things, and it was exciting. And of course, I was a little bit more the logical one. I looked at the money, but, you know, at the same time, reacted, jumped in. That being said, those guys are really, I want to say they're good closers, but they're not. They know how to leverage things to get you there. Like, they're good at closing the deal, but I wouldn't qualify them as good closers, because sometimes they bring people in for not the right reasons, and that's not a good closer. So a good closer, though, the best closer, and I've only known one that's been able to do this with me. A good closer will actually slow you down. That's just not easy to do, because if I'm excited about something, I'm like, yeah, because most of the time I won't even get on a sales call unless I know I'm ready to buy. I have the money, I know what I'm doing, I'm like, let's go. And the best closer I ever had slowed me down in the process. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, fine. We'll play it your way. And that's not an easy thing to do. So to slow me down in the process, why is that important? It's because it prevents the buyer's remorse. I mean, immediately after we got those stupid Disney tickets at the timeshare, immediately regretted it. But we couldn't get out of it either. It's like, nah, too late, you signed, right? But they leverage this whole, you can't really get out of the physical area. They kind of trap you in and keep you there, and then you're getting a gift. So see the manipulation, the 5 love languages, they're giving you a gift, free tickets, as long as you just sit for the presentation. And then they'll ask you things, whether or not you actually liked it. Of course, it's a beautiful place, especially when I'm staying at the Motel 5. It's not a hard comparison, right? So, that being said, it's like, okay, when you slow somebody down in the sales process and you help them actually make a decision and understand why they're doing this decision, why are they choosing this way, why haven't they made this change before, all of these things, these are very, very important. What it does, it anchors it in that they understand why they are making the decision to move forward instead of choosing a different option. So, it's not easy to close me. I can smell bullshit a mile away. So yeah, there's only one that's been able to do that for me and slow me down in the process. Otherwise, I just jump in and then I go, fuck, what have I done? And then I jump out. And we don't want that, right? It's not a good thing. So what you want to do is you want to increase the amount of time between your reactions, especially if you're having a strong reaction, either a strong happy reaction or a strong negative reaction. You want to be able to make your decisions in a place of balance, right? I know all the closers are like, shut up, Tina, what are you doing? No, people make their decision on emotion and then justify it with logic. I get that. Everybody does that. That being said, if you want to avoid the manipulation and you want to make sure that you are making the right decision for you, for the people that are around you, for everybody involved, that you are doing the best thing for yourself based on the information that you have, because you can have all the information at the time, you could have the awareness that you have at the time, you can make that decision, and then later on you get new information, and sometimes you have to pivot, sometimes you have to change, sometimes you have to do things differently, and that's okay. But I like to add that reaction time in, especially if I have an angry reaction, because just as quick as I am with the happy stuff, I can be very quick and very mean if I let myself just fire off. And I try not to do that. Sometimes I'm not very good at it, but sometimes, most of the time I am. I think that's just been a whole Aries thing. I don't know if that's a trauma thing or an Aries thing. Maybe a little both, but yeah. All I remember growing up, anytime I ever read my horoscope, it always told me to shut my mouth. So I was just like, all right, I'll just be quiet. Because if not, yeah, it could be an autism thing too. I'm very direct. Especially if I see injustice, right? Then I get really direct. But I try to at least soften it a little bit sometimes. So add that reaction, add that time into the reaction. So I go by the premise of don't react. Don't react, especially if you're mad or you're sad or you're depressed, or especially if you're suicidal. Sit on your hands, whatever you have to do. Call somebody. Hide out in the closet if you have to. Whatever it is, curl up in the fetal position under a desk. Do not act on that impulse, okay? It will pass. This too shall pass. I used to hate that expression. I love it now. It's really important. Leverage it as much as possible, knowing that nothing is permanent. Your happiness isn't permanent. Your sadness, your anger, none of your emotions are meant to be permanent. You're not supposed to be stuck in any one emotion. That would be like having stagnant water. It's not good. It will cause disease. It will cause infection. Your emotions are meant to flow, just like water's meant to flow, just like your blood flows in your body. You want to make sure that all of that is flowing. If you stay stuck, that will cause problems. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was, as you're going through some of these things and different ways that the abuser may have dealt with you, and I'm using abuser mostly in the childhood trauma kind of aspect. However, oh my goodness, Peter, thank you so much. We're halfway through the goal. That's awesome. Aw, you're the best. Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate you. Really, look at that. It's the first time hitting the live goal. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's amazing. So, as we're talking about the abuser, yes, from childhood, but that I'm using it a little bit more as a blanket term. So this is anybody that you start, I want to be careful here because I don't want to just kind of whitewash everybody that gives you a hard time as an abuser. That's not the case. But in the case of having reactions, right, you want to delay not having that reactive and be more intentional about how you respond to things. So think. Whatever you have to do, think about how you're going to respond, what the consequences are for it. It's a lot less cleanup, a lot less damage control. Ounce of prevention, pound of cure. Which would you prefer to use, right? That being said, you don't want to delay too long, because then what often will happen is you'll forget that you were upset about something. I know I have. I forget that I'm upset, then I don't address it, then it gets filed away, it kind of like gets compartmentalized, and you may not realize that you've done that. You kind of let things go, and then it happens again, and then you mean to bring it up, but then they seem like they're in a good mood, so you don't want to address it, and you don't want to say anything to bring the mood down, so you let it go again, and then you let it go another time, and then you let it go another time, and then next thing you know, you can't take it anymore. You blow up, you get pissed off, and you're like, I've had enough of this, and they're surprised, because it's like, well, this is the first time you've really said anything, and you're acting like, you're killing a fly with a cannon, right? So instead of a fly swatter, when you deal with these things at a smaller level, it requires a lot less energy, a lot less volatility that will happen. So you want to address those things very quickly when you see them happening. Okay, quick enough. I usually try to give a 24-hour rule. Now, I also don't like to go to bed angry. I will stay up. I will talk at 3 in the morning if I have to make sure that an issue gets addressed, because I don't like to sit on those kind of things. It's really important not to let that stuff fester. And especially for me, because one of my coping mechanisms is denial, and I will forget that I'm upset about something. And then somebody will ask me, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good, right? And then something will happen, and I'm like, shit, I'm not good. So, and then you have to take responsibility for that. It's like you can't punish them for 10 times if this is the first time that you brought it up. It's like, okay. I have to take responsibility for the last 9, and then this one particular one, I have to address it as if it was the first time it happened. It's like, that sucks. Okay. And then be consistent if they do it again, right? Because it's no different than if you have an employee that's not doing something the way that you've instructed them to do it, and then you don't say anything, and then they continue to do it because nobody told them they're doing it wrong. And you can't get mad at that, because they're just doing what they're doing. They think that they're doing it the right way, because, nobody comes into work to deliver, I'm going to fuck this up real good today. No, they don't do that, right? They come in to do the best job that they can. Now, they might have a little bit of an attitude or have a bad day or something like that, but the majority of the time, people don't want to create more work for themselves. So at the very least, they might drag their feet, but they'll try to do it right. They're not going to deliberately screw it up unless they're trying to sabotage the company before they leave or something stupid. I've seen that too. It's not very fun. That being said, so if you don't address it and you let it slide, and then you let it slide and you let it slide, you can't get mad when they're continuing to do the same thing that they have been doing. So when you do address it, you have to address it like it's the very first time. And then when they do it again, because that was the first time for them, and you're like, it's like the 12th time now. And no, it's the second time, not the 12th time. This is the second time. So now you have to address it again. And you have to deal with those kind of things in that kind of way, right? So same thing in our personal relationships, friendships. And even if it's been, okay, they did great for a full year, and then it happens again, and it's like, okay, wait a sec, what's going on? Now you have to address it in a different way, because it's like, hey, instead of like, hey, I told you before, this is the way we do it, this is how it should be done. It's like, okay, what happened? Like, what changed? Because you were doing really great for all of this time, and now all of a sudden something has changed and you went back to doing this old behavior. So did something happen, right? Like, I would really approach that from a place of curiosity. Like, what's going on with you? Especially if they were on a good track and then all of a sudden weren't. So that usually tells me they've been triggered by something, that there was a situation, circumstance that kind of brought something up, and then they didn't know how to deal with it. And when you don't know how to deal with it, you will revert back to your old behaviors, the ones that were maybe not very good coping mechanisms. and you'll default to that because you're not sure how to deal with it, or you've been going along where you have not been fully aware of yourself, and then you'll again default to old behaviors. And I also want to talk about the aspect of overcompensating. So sometimes, you know how I talked about the 5 love languages and how abusers use those to manipulate you. And so if you say you like words of affirmation and you never got those words of affirmation, you got criticized all the time, you may try to overcompensate by being the best cheerleader. And because words of affirmation are important to you and you really love them, so you give them to everybody, and they're like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? Why are you always complimenting me? Like, what do you, and maybe they have wounds around being, you know, that was how they were manipulated by, you know, saying nice things to them, so now they don't trust it, right? So, and I could be that way too, right? You know, so it all depends. So understanding that sometimes we'll overcompensate, sometimes somebody else will overcompensate because maybe that's the only way they could get their abusive parent to respond, or their abusive boss to respond, is they would, because I had one employee, she kept bringing me in gifts, and I'm like, okay, you don't need to bring me in gifts, right? So I don't know if she was doing it because to her that's an act of appreciation, act of love kind of thing, or if that was trying to butter me up so that I wouldn't be pissed off because she didn't do some of the things that she needed to do. So I don't know exactly. But understanding that sometimes there's that overcompensation because we try not to be like the abuser, try not to be like that shitty boss that we had, try not to be like that partner that was inattentive or anything like that. So you try to overcompensate sometimes. So looking at those kind of things, we can start to see, hey, do I need to maybe balance out my behavior? Is some of that, do I need to look at, am I doing too much, too little? And we base that on how is the other person reacting. Are they responding positively, or are they pulling away, right? It's like, oh, okay, maybe I need to dial this down a bit or turn it up because, hey, if you're not giving enough words of affirmations, they might pull away, and understanding them. But it's when you understand those, like I said, go check out the 5 love languages and understand that a little bit more. Do the quiz, read the book, that kind of stuff. Okay? So, yeah. This comes down to having the gift of discernment and understanding what's going on within ourselves. And the more we can understand what's going on within ourselves, the better we're able to understand what's going on in other people, what potentially could be the issue. This is why it's so important to do that inner work, whether you have been through trauma or not. Understanding how people are, how they tend to react to it, how they tend to behave, being aware of it helps you be able to help somebody else within your business, within your team, maybe a customer, of how they respond. And this way you can be a point of healing for them instead of another point of validation of the wounds that they had from original. Because people who are not doing that inner work are actually going around looking for validation to prove that what they've been taught the first time around, that filter that was created, that critical lens that they're viewing themselves from. They're going around trying to prove that that is correct, wherever they learn that message. Now, sometimes it can be hard to let that go because it's actually been an effective tool for them. So that being said, that's great. If it's working for you, go ahead and use it. If it's not working for you and it becomes a detriment, or if you try to use a tool that works for you that doesn't work for somebody else and it becomes a weapon against them, that's not a good thing either, right? So you want to make sure that you have a good gift of discernment, of really being able to sense what's going on within yourself and sense what's going on with other people, so that you can apply the right tool for the right job, kind of thing, right? And I know for myself, one of the trauma responses that I tend to have is, and it's a protection mechanism, and it's a way to feel like I have some sort of control over my life. If somebody else tells me I've done something wrong, they must be right and I must be wrong, because that was something that I had always filtered through. And part of my healing journey is to understand that, yes, I can take their opinion, their feedback under evaluation, but at the end of the day, I have to go with what's going on inside of me, and being able to pay attention to the emotions, the feelings, the sensations that are going on in my body that tell me whether or not I am on the right track. And being able to think things through critically of, has this worked for me in the past? Is this a problem? Am I, where is my level of discernment for this particular situation? Some areas I'm really good at, and then some other areas I have a bit of a blind spot. It takes me a little bit longer. This is why you want to add that time into your reaction, so that you don't just react and go, oh yeah, they must be right. I mess everything up. Right? So then you get into that people pleaser mode, and then you're looking for that approval. You're looking for the words of affirmation from them. Did I do it right? Did I do it right? And that's annoying. It's annoying being the one that's doing it, and it's annoying being the one that's receiving it. I've been on both sides of this fence, and it's just not good either way around, right? So, but just to understand that if somebody is doing that, they're coming from a place of fear, so adding to their fear doesn't help. Responding with love. Now, love doesn't always mean being nice. Love doesn't always mean being nice. Sometimes it's letting them know what they're doing. It's like holding up that mirror, right? And that can be a real gift and a real act of love. So, guys, longer session tonight, but I hope you found that helpful. I'm going to wrap it up here. If there are anything that you want me to discuss, or any particular trainings you would like me to go through, any challenges that you're having, always reach out, let me know, and I'll do a training on it. In the meantime, you can go over to my YouTube channel, Coach Tina B 125, check that out. You'll see my artwork, like I had mentioned, and there will be links there that you can purchase that artwork if you choose. And you can watch the free training, any of the replays, any of the lives that I've done. And if you're not able to do that, just come back again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will do another live, okay? And Peter, if you're still here, thank you so much for the gifts. You're amazing. I appreciate you so much. It's really great to see you back every day. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.